Hello, my name is Rebecca, and we're going to be talking about the essentials for a great multimedia PowerPoint presentation. Using PowerPoint to interact with your students is a great tool, but you'll still need to be really connected with your content to properly teach a lesson. So in order to do this, you might be used to having a lot of details on your slides to remind you of what you need to mention. In this presentation, we're going to talk about what you do want to include and what you do not want to include on your presentation. So just to review, we talked about in the past what multimedia is. The definition is using a variety of artistic or communicative media. That means using text, images, and audio. And just as a reminder, what PowerPoint is a software package designed to create electronic presentations consisting of a series of separate slides. We did have a little bit of practice with PowerPoint basics, and now we're going to talk about what to include and what not to include. In order to create a great interactive PowerPoint presentation is to know the essentials of designing effective slides. You don't want low quality slides to distract you from your instruction or the learning that needs to happen. You don't need a lot of fancy bells and whistles, and sometimes that can be very distracting to the learner. So just focus on the core of your content. You want to make sure that the images that you use are clear and high quality images. And when we talk about clear, we're making sure that the image that we are using connects to the content that we're talking about. So for example, if I'm talking about the water cycle here in this slide, I wouldn't have an image of a circuit. That has nothing to do with the water cycle. So just make sure that that image does connect to the content. You also want to use high quality images. Don't stretch low resolution photos, and avoid traditional clip art, since everybody's seen it. And a lot of times they seem less professional if you use a lot of the same old clip art. So use graphics that make sense and images that really enhance the meaning of the content you're trying to tell. Make those images relevant and realistic. Tell a story and invoke an emotion. Often using one image can have a really powerful effect. So for example, the content that we're covering in this slide is the water cycle, and I'm talking about the water cycle. That would be perfect. Next, we're going to talk about keeping it consistent. Each slide should feel like part of the same story. So for example, these two slides, okay, our first slide on topic sentences, and this might look like more of an appropriate next slide because we've aimed to have consistent colors and consistent fonts. And just as a side note, you don't necessarily need to rely on pre-built templates either. Those can feel kind of boring from time to time. So you also don't need to worry about including a lot of transitions and animations. Now, the most important thing you need to focus on is your content. Content should come first. Plan out the main points of your presentation. Identify your main message. This way, you won't get caught up in designing the slides and losing the overall heart of your presentation.